What's up, y'all? Today we're going to be ranking every movie in the Conjuring universe from worst to best. We went through and reviewed every single movie in the franchise, so if you want to go check those out, feel free to do that as well. And this is the franchise that got me into horror, so I'm a little biased, and I think this franchise is pretty consistent in my opinion. For me, it even stands out in its own way in the way that it builds lore and flows from movie to movie. So this list was hard for me to put together and decide which movies were better than each other, so it was a little tough, but without further ado, let's get into my ranking of the Conjuring universe. At number 10, we have The Curse of La Llorona from 2019. This movie is a little strange, and it's only connected to the rest of the franchise through Father Perez, who was the father who took Annabelle and tried to get her to the church, but as we know, he failed. He got flown back and had to go to the hospital. That was in Annabelle 2014. When we saw him. I don't know if that was the last time we saw him, but we did see him then, and that's the only way that this movie is connected to the rest of the franchise, which is just like such a strange little like piece of information that if you missed one movie, if you missed Annabelle 2014, you would have no clue why this guy's connected and whatever, but he does explain that Annabelle and holding her like made him grow in spirituality because he saw like that this stuff is real, and that's why he was so willing to help with the Curse of La Llorona, help out the families who were in need. So, you know, that was pretty interesting, but it's just so slim. And I'm not saying the movie's bad that it's at 10th place, but it's really at 10th place because it's just such a slim similarity and reason why why this movie is even part of the franchise. And for me, this franchise is strong on its lore, so that's going to push it all the way back to last place because if you really close your eyes and maybe even just not watch the movie for about 10 seconds, you might not even realize this is connected at all because it is totally a different branch, honestly. I love the folktale, urban legend lore, and even the costume or character design of La Llorona or the Weeping Woman. I mean, it is pretty creepy, and the whole movie's got a nice gothic tone. And the acting's pretty good. I mean, we have Tuco Salamanca in this, so, I mean, that's pretty nice. And then the kids are the only lacking, I feel, because they're not really explored. I mean, the boys explored a little bit with him missing his dad, who is now not with them at that point, and him wanting to be like him because he was a cop, and then that's the whole reason he sees La Llorona and things like that. There's a little bit of building there, but mostly the kids aren't explored, so we kind of don't even really connect with them. So that's really what's lacking in this movie. A lot of people hate this movie. I don't think it's that bad, but it's coming here in last place because the lore is lacking. At number 9, we have The Nun from 2018. There's some pretty good scenes and pretty good times in this movie. I mean, creepy scenes, scary times, but in all honesty, it's definitely not my favorite. There's a lame backstory element, which is with Father Burke, where he tried to do an exorcism on this boy. I'm not sure how many years they said ago that was, but a few years before the events of The Nun, he tried to do an exorcism on this boy. The boy ended up dying, and now he comes back to haunt him, or the demon comes back to haunt him, things like that. And I think that was just kind of a lazy way to throw in some character with Father Burke so we could connect to him, and they could also throw in like another scary element. But I thought it was kind of lazy and didn't really work. Although I do have to admit, the scene when the snake comes out of the kid and chases Father Burke to be buried alive, and then he's able to ring that bell and Sister Irene comes to help. That scene's pretty fun, pretty scary. And I do enjoy that, but the rest of the kid-Father Burke dynamic, I don't think it works very well for me. Also, the end with Frenchie having that upside-down cross on his neck kind of felt like a cop-out, and they just kind of threw that in there so they could be like, okay, if this movie makes enough money, we can go ahead and make a second one, which hindsight, we know that did happen, so I'm sure they achieved their goal, but the fact that that was their goal was kind of lame, and I'm not a big fan of it. And since the nun or Valak is such a big story and a big person or a character villain in the Conjuring universe, I was hoping for a better backstory with the nun, but honestly, this doesn't really do a whole lot for me, and the whole movie's kind of forgettable. But with that being said, I do not hate the nun. I think there's some fun to be had. It's not very rewatchable, and I have to admit, the first time I tried to watch it, it took many times because I was just so bored with the opening scene. I don't know, maybe that's, when I was little, I had TikTok brain or something, I don't know, but I didn't have fun trying to watch it. Once I did, it wasn't as bad as I thought, and I found out that the opening scene was actually kind of strong, a little scary, but this whole movie definitely isn't my favorite. I don't hate it though like some people do, but it's coming here in 9th place. At number 8, we have The Nun II from 2023. This is a huge step up from The Nun from 2018, in my opinion. I think there's good character building with Frenchie as we see him with his love interest and his love interest daughter, who he kind of acts like a father figure towards and protects her around this schoolyard where he's kind of like the gardener and he kind of helps out with the school. I think that's a pretty fun aspect and a way for us to connect with him. Also with Sister Irene now at a new abbey, and she connects with another novice because in The Nun, she was the novice herself. So it's kind of cool to see her connecting with someone that I'm sure she sees as she sees some of herself in the other novice. And they have some good character building. We get to connect with these characters way more than we did in the first Nun. And there's pretty good scary scenes I enjoyed here. We had the church stained glass when the girls are messing with Frenchie's love interest daughter, and she's staring at this glass, and they're saying if you take your eyes off the eyes, then the bull demon will come to life and start chasing you and whatever. And that was a pretty creepy scene right there when she's locked out and can't get in, and Valak shows up, things like that. And then also we have a pretty scary scene at the newspaper stand when they start flickering, making the shape of the nun. I thought that was creative and pretty fun and pretty scary as well. So I definitely enjoyed that. But I do feel this ending was kind of goofy. It felt silly. We had two endings, kind of. So they're trying to get the eyes of St. Lucy to keep from Valak, and then eventually they defeat Valak / Frenchie because he's possessed, and they're able to celebrate, think they won, but then we find out he's not actually dead and Valak's not actually gone, and she comes back. She's able to get the eyes of St. Lucy, and then we see her in this ultra nun form or whatever. It just feels so goofy, especially with how she's defeated, catches on fire, things like that. It just didn't really work for me, and the effects used felt silly and goofy, and I couldn't take it serious or find it scary. But here again, I don't hate this movie. I know a lot of people also hate this movie. I don't think it's that bad. I think it's overhated. It's kind of a trend or fun to hate on the Conjuring universe, in my opinion. I think a lot of these movies, they get overhyped because it's just the cool thing to do is to hate on the Conjuring universe, I feel. But in reality, the movies aren't that bad. I really don't think so. And I think they really connect lore way better than other franchises have ever done in the past. It might be the best to do that if Terrifier didn't exist, because Terrifier is starting to make some really good movies and connect some really good lore. So, that's a conversation for another day, but I don't think The Nun 2 is nearly as bad as people make it out to be, but it is coming in here at number 8. At number 7, we have Annabelle from 2014. This is the official checkpoint of when I start to adore these movies. There's a huge gap from spot 8 to spot 7, and I do like 8, 9, and 10. I do think there's some fun to be had. I don't think they're the worst movies ever, but 7 through 1, I adore these movies, and I think they're great. Hey guys, future me here. I just wanted it to be known that number 7 through number 3 are pretty much interchangeable. I really like them all, and just depending on what day you ask me, it's going to change on which one I like more. But number 2 and number 1 are locked in. Those are locks. Number 10, 9, and 8 are also locked. So 7 through 3, you can change them out. You ask me on a different day, I might say something else. So I just thought that should be known. But back to the video. Peace. First, I just want to say this was the hardest part of figuring out where to put the Annabelle movies. I love all 3 Annabelle movies. I think they're very fun. I think they're well done. I think they're very watchable and also scary. And they kind of feel like intro horror in a way that you can show these to people who get way too scared. They're like, I can't watch horror movies. They're so scary. My mom's like that. She can't watch horror movies. But in her case, she still won't watch Annabelle because she is terrified of Annabelle. But still, I do feel these can be shown as intro horror movies, and you can have, maybe someone's watching their first horror movie. Annabelle might be a good movie to watch, just on the scarier end, but still could work. And even the other movies later, one of them I feel is even more intro horror than this one, but I feel this one works as well. And obviously it's really creepy to have the reality of this cursed object that the movie is about. It's just creepy to think about that, and pretty scary, especially with the new design, although it was originally a Raggedy Ann doll, but the new design is better for cinematics, I'd say, and probably copyright reasons as well. But that Annabelle doll from the movies is very iconic, I'd say. And when watching this in order, it's very interesting to see how it flows from Annabelle creation to this Annabelle movie, with having Janice possessed, or Annabelle is what they called her, but her real name was Janice. And then she killed her parents and then stabbed the the family, and then they had the Annabelle doll and she dripped blood into it, and we got to see all of that. So that was super interesting. It's also cool how this is a trilogy within a franchise. You know, we have Annabelle Creation, Annabelle, and then Annabelle Comes Home, and they all flow into each other. So you could kind of just separate them and watch them as their own little franchise or trilogy. I think that's super fun, like a long movie night, like where you watch all 3 Annabelles, which I'm going to have to do at some point. That sounds pretty fun to me. That sounds like a nice little Halloween thing to do or something, but that would be super fun. And I think it works very well because, like I said, these are 3 of some of the best movies in this whole franchise. This starts to connect with The Conjuring, as we see Annabelle did appear a couple times in The Conjuring, although she wasn't like the main villain or focus or anything. But it was interesting to see, who is this doll? Like, what are we seeing? Who is this creepy doll that we're seeing? And then this movie comes out and we get to see what that is and the actual story. We get to focus on the doll, and it's pretty interesting. And although it is kind of a slow burn, a little boring at times, I really think this movie is fun and I enjoy it a lot. And I know it is hated a lot as well. I believe this has like a 28% on Rotten Tomatoes, but that's another story. You can go check out my rant on that in the Annabelle review video. But I love this movie, but this franchise is pretty good, so it's coming here at number 7. At number 6, we have The Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It from 2021. This is my least favorite of the actual Conjuring movies, but I don't hate it. The Conjuring movies are just really good. Ed and Lorraine Warren, or Patrick Wilson and Vera Farmiga, who play them, just bring such a charm and enjoyable time in watching the Conjuring movies because they're in it. They can make a Conjuring movie that just sucks. No character development, no plot, just garbage. And if it had Patrick Wilson and Vera Farmiga in it, I would like it. I would watch it. I love them. I feel like we're best friends. They don't know me, but they're my best friends, okay? So that's how that goes. No, them two are for real, like, some of my favorite actors. Like, if I had to pick, like, who I wanted, like, do you want a picture with this actor? Which actor do you want to meet? It's Patrick Wilson and Vera Farmiga. One of them, I'd be happy. It's so fun to see Ed and Lorraine as detectives here in this movie, and less fighting demons the whole time and fighting the supernatural, and more kind of uncovering, unpacking what's going on, reaching out to detectives, figuring out this mystery themselves. And within that, it of course is a mystery for the audience as we're watching, trying to figure out what's going on. And it's super fun. It's kind of like got that 90s slasher mystery, except the slasher is a demon. So, it's a little interesting in that aspect. I love the ending with Ed and Lorraine. I think it's super cute, super, wholesome, and also love their backstory, how it's explored, how they met, and things like that. And there's even a cute moment at the end, after the cute moment I was just talking about, which how the movie actually ends is, it's kind of like their love story here. This is the movie that kind of symbolizes their love, and I think that's super fun. It works for me and made me happy. Also, of course, we do get a pretty sick opening scene right from the credits. We get an exorcism, which is rare because usually those are the ending of the other Conjuring movies, but this one starts with it, and we even get to see this throughout the film, and we even get like kind of another exorcism later, or attempted exorcism at least. And it's just super interesting to see that because it grabs your attention from the start. I mean, we have an exorcism right when you turn on the movie, so that's super fun. So even though I love this movie very much, it is coming in here at number 6. At number 5, we have Annabelle Creation from 2017. It's very cool to see how Annabelle was made, since she's in so much other movies in this franchise, and she pops up a lot, and we have a lot of questions about her. I think it was very cool to have a prequel to Annabelle for us to discover, how did she become this doll that's possessed? It also is interesting that they were able to make a prequel to a prequel work. This is at number 5, so it's in the upper half of this franchise, and yet it's a prequel to a prequel. These usually don't work, so props to them for making a banger with this. I love this movie. It's a very fun cast to follow, and also like the plot. We have Janice and Linda, who we root for. We want them to get adopted together and have a nice life together. Spoilers, it doesn't work out, but hey, I think it's a good story and the fun characters to follow. The only thing about the characters, though, is that the mom did feel lame. She felt kind of thrown in there just to give us some backstory on the doll, but she kind of doesn't appear, doesn't really add anything. I felt it was like a stale wooden character, but it's such a minimal part of the movie that it really doesn't matter. There's some very scary, intense scenes here, like some of the best in the franchise, honestly, with the stair lift, which, we have Janice, who has polio and can't really get up the stairs, so she uses that little stair lift. And then, you know, there's like lore with it where she has to put her seatbelt on. She has to click down, or like a weird mechanism to try to get this thing to go up and down the stairs. And then she has Annabelle and her goons chasing her, and it's just a pretty scary scene and one of the best in the franchise. I also think it's cool how we really get to see how Annabelle works here. This is where we instead of Annabelle like popping up and moving around and being like, oh, Annabelle's haunting you, we really figure out that it's not her, but what she unleashes, who she invites out. She brings her goons, and it gets pretty creepy. It gets pretty epic, you know what I'm saying? So I think it's cool to see that, and I think this movie's very fun, very cool prequel. It used to be my favorite Annabelle movie, but not anymore. If you can guess what my favorite is now, we'll see that later on in this video. But Annabelle Creation, I love it. It's coming in here at 5th place. At number 4, we have The Conjuring Last Rites from 2025. To be honest, I'm still processing this a bit, as it just came out a few days ago, and still figuring out how I liked it. But at this point, I do think it was very fun, and I enjoyed it. So, I mean, it's coming in here all the way at number 4, which is pretty impressive. I mean, it has Patrick Wilson and Vera Farmiga, so you know I'm gonna love it. I love how Judy and Tony were explored, more so Judy, how we see how she's grown up to be just like her mom and see things, and you know, she kind of wants to help people with her powers, which is super cool because we see that her and Tony are able to be pretty good like their parents or parents-in-law, and we see that Judy and Tony do make a pretty cool couple. And if I'm making my guesses, that's the future of the franchise. Judy and Tony are gonna fight demons together just like Ed and Lorraine. So I wouldn't be surprised if this wasn't the last Conjuring movie and they ended up doing that in the future, but only time will tell with that. This movie explored a lot of character backgrounds. We had Ed, and we had really just the Warrens and their kind of chemistry, how they live when they're not fighting demons and taking cases and things like that, just their day-to-day lives. And that was super interesting to see. It made us connect with them even more. And these are characters that we're super connected with across this whole franchise. So that was super cool to make that even stronger with us. That's why I'm telling you, me and Patrick Wilson and Vera Farmiga are best friends at this point. With that being said, they also did do the Smurl family. A lot of background. We felt for this character so much. And we did feel connected with them. We spent like almost the whole first act with the Smurl family. But then they totally abandoned that in the second, third acts. We like never see them again. And it is my only big con in this movie, or maybe 1 out of 2 big cons in this movie, where I just feel like that was a waste of time to really go into this family and connect with them and just see their family dynamics and build a connection with this family. So it makes us, you know, feel for when they're going through these terrible times later in the film. But instead, they kind of abandon that later on, and it kind of feels wasted. But I love the cameos at Ed's birthday party. I mean, we have the cop from The Conjuring. We see the mom from the Parent family. I believe we see the mom from the Conjuring 2 family. We just see all these people from past parts of this franchise, which was just super interesting to see how, you know, they're friends with the people they helped and everything like that. We even get a really fun segment with the cop from The Conjuring 2 who got bit in the neck. He even shows off his scar from being bit in the neck, and he was like, I thought it was a pretty funny. I was the only one in the whole entire area that laughed at this with the people I was watching the movie with in the cars next to me. I don't think they knew the lore, guys. I don't think they knew the lore, but I laughed when the cop was like, I think Tony came up to him and while he was grilling, and this dude looking swagged out, got his glasses on, the slick back hair. He's just looking like a dog. And then he's like, so have you seen anything paranormal? And he was like, oh, he put his glasses down. He said, oh, have I seen anything paranormal? Oh, I've seen some things. I thought that was so funny. I started laughing, but you know, like I said, nobody around me thought it was very funny. I thought the mirror was interesting and scary. It was a pretty creepy looking mirror, creepy looking backstory, you know, this haunted mirror, kind of silly, but I mean, I believe that is what the story is based off of, and they did end up making it creepy. I thought it worked, and also thought it was interesting how it ties back to Ed and Lorraine's first case with Judy, so it kind of all connects, and I feel it's a good way to wrap up this part of the universe, or this universe as a whole if they do actually end it. But my other con is the ending. It felt lame and abrupt. It felt like it came out of nowhere. It felt like once we realized, hey, this is the third act, you know, you felt that climax, you felt what was happening, and that this movie was about to end. then it just ended. They fought the demon so quick. They defeated the supernatural entity so fast. Got Judy back from being possessed very quick. It was maybe like, 5 to 10 minutes? I mean, maybe I'm wrong. I remember looking at the clock like, how are they going to wrap this up? I mean, it's almost over. It's been almost an hour. It's been almost 2 hours, 15 minutes. And then it ended real quick after that. So, I don't know. I thought that was kind of lame. Didn't really build up to anything crazy. I wish they would end it better. And it's kind of weird how they just all put their hands on the mirror and was like, the power of united family, it wins. And he just slammed the book into the mirror. And it was just kind of lame. Not a lot of like lore connection to this finale, but so I don't enjoy it, but it definitely didn't ruin the movie. As you see, I put it here at 4th place, so I did enjoy it. If the ending was even better, this might be up there to top 3, you know what I'm saying? So I enjoyed The Conjuring Last Rites. It's coming in here in 4th place. At number 3, we have Annabelle Comes Home from 2019. Now, like I said, I love all the Annabelle movies. It was hard for me to put these in order, and I used to have Annabelle Creation at my favorite Annabelle movie, and then this movie was last place, and I had Annabelle at the 2nd spot. I ended up swapping these on my rewatch. I really enjoyed this movie. I believe it's the most rewatchable on this list. It's one that's super fun. It's sort of quick as well. Like it doesn't have too much of a runtime, and it's just so fun and action packed the whole time. And the vibe of like Halloween fall time, absolutely amazing. I didn't realize that my first watch, but the second watch, it was pretty atmospheric, and it put me in that fall vibes. And I love movies that can do that. We saw pumpkins, we saw the supermarket decorated. It's also a 70s period piece in itself because that's when it does take place. So we have people wearing the clothes from that time and decorations from that time, and it was awesome. And it's also very PG. I feel this is the most intro horror. It's not too scary, not too gory, a lot of jump scares. I feel they're good jump scares though, but these it worked. And I feel like you can show this as an intro horror and people won't be too terrified. And again, I love Judy fighting cases as well. And she fights her own case pretty much on her own and takes care of these babysitters, kind of helps them out while her parents are away. And then also Ed and Lorraine do come back later, so we get to see Patrick Wilson and Vera Farmiga just a little bit. They're kind of like cameos, but super fun as always. They add charm to the movie, and there's definitely some scary scenes here. We have Annabelle sleeping next to Judy, which was terrifying to imagine that, and then the wheel with the different colors showing Annabelle moving around the room. Although we have some goofy times as well with that bull who I felt was a little silly looking, but it was also cool to see the lore from all the other cases that they fought that they didn't have movies on, like the guy with the coins in his face, and that there was a piano that might have been from The Conjuring, I'm not sure, but there's just that TV as well, just a bunch of different cases that they fought in their past, and we were able to see just a glimpse into them. Although I do wish we could get full movies on each individual case. That would be awesome. With Patrick Wilson and Vera Farmiga, that would be dope, but I don't think we're going to get that. But anyway, this movie kind of fills that in for us, and I thought it was very fun. So Annabelle Comes Home coming in here at 3rd place. At number 2, we have The Conjuring 2 from 2016. This movie is almost perfect, I feel. This movie is so terrifying with the plethora of scary demons or villains. We have the crooked man. We have that scary voice of the man who sits on the couch and says, "This is my house." Very terrifying. And it's super fun that they finally defeat Valak. I mean, unless she somehow comes back in later future movies, I hope not. But as far as we know, this is the ending of Valak. And Vera Farmiga's character, or Lorraine, is able to defeat Valak. And she figures out her name, and we realize, the characters have never known the name of Valak this whole entire time, and they finally do. And they're able to defeat Valak. That was super dope. And we feel for the family's backstory of the family that's going through these demonic times, and we just see all the struggles that they're already dealing with their father leaving them and things like that. The washing machine breaking, just small things like that just lead up to us feeling bad for this family, really wanting them to solve what's happening to them. And it's an interesting third act with Ed and Lorraine leaving and almost abandoning the case because the demon tricked them, and we usually see the demon trying to fight them and try to kill them, but instead he tried to trick them to leave because it knew it would lose to them. So just interesting to see it trying to trick Ed and Lorraine to go away with forcing the possessed girl to purposefully throw things on camera to show that she's faking it, even though that was just all a plot. And Ed and Lorraine were able to figure that out and come back. I thought that was super interesting. I also love the backstory, how we explore Lorraine's powers or her visions to see the future and see things that other people can't. I thought that was super interesting and built for like a tension-filled time, because obviously we don't want Ed to die. That'd be terrible. So we're seeing these visions and we're feeling for Lorraine, because she's like, Ed, we shouldn't. I'm seeing things. I don't want you to die. And all this whole time we're seeing the vision of that stick going through him, and we're like, what is that? Where's that coming from? And then at the end we finally see the lightning strike and the exact stick that she kept seeing in her visions. And then we see Ed almost about to fall on it, holding onto the curtain, saving this child. And it's just so interesting this whole time, and it just all comes together at the end. It's super satisfying, and it's a great movie. Overall, absolutely love The Conjuring 2, and it's coming here at second place. At number 1, we have The Conjuring from 2013. This movie is pretty much perfect. I mean, it's hard to beat the original of the franchise, unless you're Friday the 13th, but this is one of the greatest horror movies ever made, in all honesty. I mean, it's up there with, its rankings, its reviews, and things like that. So, I mean, this movie is obviously kind of has a cult following. People love this movie, and it's the movie that got me into horror. I have a lot of nostalgia with this, a lot of bias with this. I remember watching this with my friends, trying to show this to everyone. Me and my friends will watch this over and over again, try to catch people on the jump scares. I have a video of my brother falling for a jump scare that we got him, but just fun times watching this. It's like the first horror movie that I really wanted to watch, and then once I watched this, I was trying to find all the other horror movies and watch those as well. And it really got me into horror. So I have a lot of nostalgia for this movie, and I love this movie. And it's also great. Upon my rewatch, I really noticed this movie is almost perfect. I really think it's so strong. And of course, it's going to come in here at number 1. I mean, it's amazing. It's also interesting to see Ed and Lorraine connect all the terrible things that's happened to this house once they go home to do their research. I love when they get that lore. I love lore. So they're connecting the lore to this house. They're connecting things that's happened, looking into the past, she's looking with her vision to see what's going on, and just all these different things that they see connected. And we realize, oh, this house is terrible. There's not just one bad thing that's happened. Somebody didn't just die in this house. No, a lot of people died in a lot of tragic ways as well. So it's super terrifying to see that. There's also some very creepy scenes. We have when they call out Bathsheba when she's under the house trying to kill the child, and she looks at him or looks at the camera. It's super terrifying, scary scene right there. When we see that scary face. And then down below in the basement when she's possessed, the chair flips upside down. She bites the cop guy, gives him that nice wound as well for when he's barbecuing later on. But I mean, overall, just some very scary scenes. We have the hide and clap. The jump scares here are placed strategically very well. This is how you do jump scares. It's how you master the jump scares. I think this movie does it perfectly. And if they were to teach a class on how to do jump scares, they would show this movie and have the students study this movie, because this is one of the best ways that jump scares have been used in horror. It's also amazing vibe and setting. Like, it feels like a cool breeze, like an autumn type of vibe. And, you see a little bit of leaves. You just feel the cool, calm setting. And then that dread kicks in, and then it just gets dark. And then we have like all the other things happening with the birds flying into the window and just all the scary, terrifying things that are going on. It just makes for a nice, creepy setting. It's also very rewatchable, and overall, it's just a really fun time, and I love this movie so much. It's coming in here at number 1. So that's my list. Let me know what y'all think about this video and my rankings, and what do you think about this universe? Also, what is your favorite movie in this universe? Drop that all down in the comments below. Please drop a like and hit that subscribe button, or every entity from this whole entire Conjuring franchise will be under your bed. Thank y'all so much for watching, and have a blessed day. Peace.